Hey, what is up guys? It's Stan here back with another video. So in this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Edelkrone JibONE that I recently purchased. We'll take a look at the unboxing and get it all set up on this tripod, and we'll take a look at basically how well this thing works. So let's get into it. Right off the bat, the JibONE is something that I purchased with my own money. I actually have a handful of Edelkrone products already, not because I'm sponsored by them, but because I like the way they work and I like using their products. That said, Edelkrone, if you guys want to sponsor me or send any products my way, I certainly won't complain. Now, the unboxing experience is pretty much what you would expect from all Edelkrone products. The box is a very premium feel box. It's got a lot of padding on the inside and it's very well packaged. One thing that did surprise me was the weight of the entire package. I was actually expecting something, or the JibONE, to be substantially lighter, but the package came in at like 10 to 15 pounds. I had completely forgotten that the counterweights are pretty heavy, and the entire package ends up being pretty heavy as a result. The first thing that you're greeted with in the package is the instruction manual and the documentation. You have a couple instruction manuals in different languages and a couple leaflets to tell you to register. First, you have the shutter release extension cable in the corner of the package. Then you can see here that we have the weight counterbalance clamp to clamp onto the arm, and of course you have the main arm itself. The arm is in the compacted or in the retracted state when it's shipped, and the motors and everything are all already attached to the arm. Below that, you will find the 3 counterweight balances that attach to the counterweight clamp. This is packaged very well in there. It is taped to the bottom so that it won't rattle around. Once you have it unwrapped and in your hands, you don't need any explanation why this package was so heavy and why everything is taped down so well. The first thing you do to set up the JibONE is to lock in the counterweight balance. This can be slid along the bottom rail so that you can get the perfect balance once you have everything deployed. You don't have to tighten everything down just yet because you're going to be adjusting this in a moment. In addition, you have 3 additional weights that you can add to this counterweight here. The way they work is they slot in and tighten down by screwing it into place. If you have a Head Plus unit, you're going to have to use basically all of the counterweight balances to be able to properly balance the Head Plus. Make sure you screw down the bottom counterweight before adding the new one on top. And just like that, you've got all 3 counterweights screwed in. In order to deploy the JibONE, all you need to do is to loosen the 2 screw clamps here and here, and then with it loosened, you're able to pull the entire arm out. With the entire arm extended, just clamp down or screw down the 2 clamps to make sure that this arm doesn't go right back in. Now, the last part to deploy the JibONE is the Head Plus unit, or it depends on if you have a Head Plus unit, which I do here, or if you have some kind of mounting bracket for this. So what I've got here is the JibONE included bracket and the Head Plus unit, which is already mounted together, and this just basically slots right in to here. Is tightened with the screw. You've got bubble levels here and here to tell you if everything is balanced and ready to go. So just like that, the JibONE is basically deployed, and you can mount your camera to the Head Plus and start messing around with the balance. To unlock everything, you have a pin that you pull, and with that unlocked, the JibONE is able to freely balance. And as you can see, I think I got a little too much weight here, so I got to move this piece a little further up to get this to balance correctly. And then you tighten it down, and there you go. Everything is balanced pretty well. So as you can see, you can set up this unit in relatively short amount of time. You can collapse it back down, disassemble in pretty quick time as well. Now the last adjustment is this knob right here. If you loosen this and adjust this slider or the jib, it allows you to either go vertically or horizontally. And as you can see here, this is now slanting at a 45-degree angle. Now, if you were to move this, change this from 90 degrees to horizontal, for example, then you have to readjust this right here to make sure that this is vertical again. But as you can see, adjustments are really easy, and getting everything set up is pretty quick as well. As with all other Edelkrone products, everything is controlled by the Edelkrone app. And if you fire off the Edelkrone app and you do the smart pairing, it will find the slider, or actually the JibONE, and the Head Plus unit. Now, to use this app, it's actually very straightforward. You basically move the jib however you want it. You hold pose 1, and then move it to a different location with the Head Plus and everything. Hold pose 2, and then you can hit pose 1, and it'll go right back to that first pose. Below that, you got your speed slider and your ease slider. You can adjust that as well. But as you can see here, programming and setting it up is really, really simple with this app. You can even take a photo of the angle or the subject. Shooting the same subject here, the camera, but when I hit pose 2, I take the photo. Let's get a different angle from down here. Get that recorded in there. And now I've got your 2 different angles, pose 1 and pose 2. Again, hit pose 1, it will slowly go up to that first pose that we saved in there. Now you have 6 different poses, and you can actually even do sequence shots. So pose 1, 2, 3, get it all programmed in there, ready to go. It's really, really easy and simple to use. Now, in terms of gripes for this thing, I only have 2 major gripes about the JibONE. All right, the first gripe is potentially an issue with the motor. Now, it's only a very, very specific scenario. So if I got 2 settings programmed in here, and I go from pose 1 to pose 2, and the maximum speed by double clicking it, it moves from pose 1 to pose 2 in as quickly as possible. When that happens, it seems like there's a little bit of a pulsing movement in the motor, as you can see here. So pose 1 to 1, you can see it pulses a little bit, pulses a little bit. It's not entirely smooth. That said, if I were to do a regular swing movement from pose 1 to pose 2, then you'll see that this movement is completely smooth and there's no problem at all. And if I were to slow it down even further, there's no issues at all. It's even smoother when it goes slowly. The only issue when this comes up is if you are to double tap and have it move up to that pose as quickly as possible. The second issue or second gripe that I have, and it's a very personal one, I guess, is when you're moving this thing, you have to lock it in to be able to properly move this. Once it's locked in, then you can lift and then you can manipulate the entire JibONE, and it's actually a very large unit. It gets a little bit unwieldy to try to move this thing around, and I've actually had this thing tip over a couple times because I forgot to lock it into place, and as I'm moving it, you can imagine this thing's shifting, this is shifting, and then the tripod is turning underneath you, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? You have to lock it into place and then move it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a disaster. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a little bit difficult to manipulate, difficult to move, just because it's a big, heavy unit. but you know, it is what it is. Now as for pros, the movements, the swings, our slides are very, very smooth. There's very little jerky movement in the actual footage when you use the app to actually do a proper swing. What else? The motors are really, really quiet, and as you can see in that beginning shot, it was swinging back and forth right behind me. You couldn't even hear the motors, and honestly, the camera isn't going to pick up any of that noise or you know, the whine at all. There is a very, very faint ultrasonic whine from the Head Plus unit and from the motor in the back if you put your ear up against it, but honestly, it's very quiet. Build quality is top notch. Everything is made out of aluminum. Very little plastic on this. It is heavy, as I said before, but you know, I guess it's kind of, that's the trade-off for quality build, right? Anecdotally, it seems as if the Head Plus unit uses a little bit more power than the JibONE. The JibONE, in all my testing today, is still at maybe 90% power. This is still at 90% power, while this is sitting at maybe 10–15% power. And that's something that I've noticed in the past too. The Head Plus units burn a little bit more power than, for example, the slider. That said, if you have these LPE6 batteries around and you can get these recharged, then it's not a problem. And if you know, power is really an issue, and especially if you're in a studio scenario, you could always use the AC power adapter, purchase one of those, and you power this unit that way as well. So there's that. Overall, if you're looking for a slider or a jib for swings, I would look no further. I would really recommend taking a close look at the JibONE, just because you have the option of having that vertical or 45-degree angle, as well as very, very smooth pans and slides. This unit right here is a very good combo unit, and honestly, I think it can replace the vast majority of sliders out there. You know, understanding that this is not a perfect slider, there is a little bit of curvature as you're moving, but if you have the angle, and especially the Head Plus unit, angle set up and the Head Plus is panning, you can get it set up so that you really don't see that curvature in your movement. And I think that this right here, this is a very good all-in-one unit. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for future tech videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.